Welcome to the English Grammar Practice channel. The intended audience of this channel is children, adolescents, and adults who have difficulties with the correct use of English grammar and non-English speakers who are interested in learning and speaking good English. This is my third video. As you can see, I have listed out the 9 parts of speech. In my first video, I talked about the first 3 parts of speech on the list: determiner, noun, and pronoun. In my second video, I talked about adjectives and the different types. In this video, I will be talking about verbs. In my first 2 videos, I highlighted the importance of verbs over the other parts of speech. The verb and its conjugation are the centerpiece of this channel. Before we continue, let's look at a brief definition of a verb. What is a verb? In a few words, a verb can be defined as a word that describes the action of the subject in a sentence. For example, in the sentence, "The man walks 3 kilometers every day," the word or verb, walks, describes the action of the subject in the sentence, which is, the man. If you know how to correctly conjugate a verb, you can never make grammatical errors when speaking English, and your sentences will always be accurate. No sentence can exist without a verb. A group of words without a verb can never make a sentence, but one verb on its own without any other word or words attached to it can make a complete sentence. That single word is a verb in the imperative form. For example, come is the imperative form of the verb, to come, and it is a complete sentence regardless of just being one single word. In other words, no verb, no sentence, one verb, one sentence. A verb tells what is happening in a sentence. Examples of verbs are run, sit, sing, jump, dance, think, etc. For example, in the sentence, "The lady gave him some chocolates," the verb gave is the word that tells us the action that was carried out by the lady in the sentence. Having identified the verb in the sentence, let's also identify the other parts of speech in the sentence, although they are not the subjects of this video. As you can see, the is an article which is a type of determiner, lady is a noun, gave, which we have already identified is a verb, is the past tense of the verb, to give, him, is a pronoun, some, could be a determiner, a pronoun, or an adverb, but in the context of this sentence, some, is a determiner, and chocolates, is a noun. In order for you to know how to perfectly manage verb conjugations, you must know 2 things. 1. The structure of verb conjugation. 2. The subject-verb agreement. We are going to look at this structure and the subject-verb agreement on the next page. This is the perfect structure of a verb conjugation and the subject-verb agreement. This is the present simple tense of the verb, to think. As you can see, the subjects are in agreement with the verbs. The first person singular reads, "I think." The second person singular reads, "You think." The third person singular masculine reads, "He thinks." The third person singular feminine reads, "She thinks." The third person singular neuter reads, "It thinks." The first person plural reads, "We think." The second person plural reads, "You think." And the third person plural reads, "They think." It is very important to take note of the third person singular. In the third person singular, the verb always ends in s when it is a regular verb. As you can see on your screen, the third person singular ends in s and the rest adopt the same form as the verb. When it is an irregular verb, the third person singular ends in ss, x, ch, shush, s, res. However, some verbs do not change in the third person. This group of verbs is called modal verbs. Modal verbs in the English language are shall, should, can, could, will, would, may, must, and might. Given that these verbs are auxiliary verbs, they are used alongside the infinitive of the main verb in a sentence. There is another group of verbs called the semi-modal verbs. Examples are ought to and used to. These 2 verbs do not also add s in their third person singular. However, there are other semi-modal verbs like dare, need to, etc. that do end in s. Semi-modal verbs are characterized because they are sometimes formed like modal verbs, and sometimes formed like main verbs depending on the context. Now, let's look at sentences with third-person singular that end in s. In the subsequent videos, we will be looking at sentences whose third-person singular ends in s, ys, etc. As you can see, the table is split in two. On the left, the subjects of the sentences are in green, and these subjects are nouns. The verbs in the sentences are in purple. On the right, the subjects of the sentences are in green, and these subjects are personal pronouns. The verbs in the sentences are in purple. You can also see the subject-verb agreement in all the 10 sentences. The first sentence on the left reads, "Philip thinks he is the most intelligent student." Philip thinks he is the most intelligent student. If you take a look at the first sentence to the right, Philip is replaced with the third-person singular masculine personal pronoun, he, and the sentence reads, "He thinks he is the most intelligent student." He thinks he is the most intelligent student. The second sentence on the left reads, "Mary assumes to be the cleverest girl in our class." Mary assumes to be the cleverest girl in our class. To the right of this sentence, Mary is replaced with the third-person singular feminine personal pronoun, she, and the sentence reads, "She assumes to be the cleverest girl in our class." She assumes to be the cleverest girl in our class. The third sentence on the left reads, "John believes he can fly." John believes he can fly. To the right, John is replaced with the third-person singular masculine personal pronoun, he, and the sentence reads, "He believes he can fly." He believes he can fly. The fourth sentence on the left reads, "Erosion creates landforms." Erosion creates landforms. To the right, erosion is replaced with the third-person singular neuter pronoun, it, and the sentence reads, "It creates landforms." It creates landforms. The fifth sentence on the left reads, "Soldiers defend their country." Soldiers defend their country. To the right, soldiers is replaced with the third-person plural pronoun, they, and the sentence reads, "They defend their country." They defend their country. In this video, I have explained the use of the third-person singular, which is one of the areas where many non-English speakers or English learners usually make grammatical errors when speaking. Understanding the subject-verb agreement is crucial for any English learner to understand and speak good English. For example, in the sentence, "He has been here since morning," if you do not understand the subject-verb agreement, you might say, "He have been here since morning." Another example is, in a sentence, instead of saying, "John has given it to me," you might say, "John have given it to me." This is the end of this video. In my next video, I will continue with verbs. Like the video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.